Buescher, he's on the outside. He's in position. He's got it. And here comes Truex. They're going to close right to the 2 leaders. Coming to the line. Clash together.
Welcome to the Big Motor Small Blade Podcast. My name is Buddy Pulley, host of the Big Motor Small Blade Podcast, and also on tour, which returns this week. Joined, of course, by Seth Dolby of Push to Pass, and also this podcast.
Big Motor Small Blade Podcast. Yes.
And Kyle Larson Stan.
Yes.
One of his biggest, and we just witnessed the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history, won by your boy Kyle Larson. Seth, you were not watching the race live, but I got to know your reaction.
I watched the finish live.
You did? Okay, all right.
I did, yes.
Initial reaction to this.
All right, so I'm gonna set the scene. So I'm busy I'm at a concert in Charlotte. And,
what concert?
Queensryche. It's like an '80s prog metal band. Anyway.
Okay.
I had a fun time, but I was distracted during part of the show going back and watching the race on my phone. So I happened to pull it up and they're about to start the overtime restart. And I watch it. The scoring comes up, it says Buescher, and I yelled, "Fuck, shit." And then closed my phone. And I was like, all right, fine. I'm done with it until after the show. And then like a minute later, I kind of thought about it, and I was like, man, that was a pretty fucking good finish. Let's see what the guys are saying about it. So I pull up the group chat.
Buddy Pulley and Chuck Folsom are the guys in question here.
First thing I see is Buddy said, Kyle fucking Larson. And I'm like,
I said that. That was a quote. Yes.
I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He did.
Like, because when I watched it, I was like, nah, Buescher got him, like 100%. And then the scoring agreed with that. And I was like, okay, yeah, Buescher got it. So I pulled it up just in time to see Kyle doing his Polish victory lap. And so I had fun with that one. That was pretty good. It didn't even occur to me that the start finish line was crooked yet.
Did not occur to really anybody until the RFK tweet.
Which, fair enough, it was way more crooked than it probably should have been. But
I mean, yes, but that was a salt-filled tweet. I was watching it live, and I was not at a concert. I was in the comfort of my own home, and I watched it, and I had flashbacks to Atlanta because I saw Buescher. I saw him come across the line. I too thought Buescher had won. And, well, no. When they crossed the line, I thought Kyle had won. And then Buescher popped up. And then I thought back to Atlanta. I'm like, well, I thought Blaney won. Let's go to the slow-mo. And they go to the slow-mo. And I was like, boom, bitch, Kevin Harvick win, baby. Hell yeah. It was unreal. We'll get more into the finish in a little bit. But let's talk about the overall race. Seth, you did not, like I said, watch it live, but you caught most of it in the highlights. What did you think of Kansas?
I thought it was. Let me get there. I don't think it was that much different than the past couple seasons of Kansas. And that's not a good or bad thing necessarily. I'm just saying, like, it seems like the reaction to this is like way better than it has been. Like, it has been good, but I feel like the reaction to this is like, I don't know. The reaction to this almost feels like the Atlanta reaction.
I mean,
which obviously they have their similarities as far as, the way it ended. But I mean, ultimately it was like we've had, but with more tire wear.
Yeah.
So overall, everything I've seen is a positive.
Yeah.
Now, I know I get very frustrated watching guys trade the lead back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Not because I don't think it's entertaining. It is, but it's also like, I don't know, goofy almost looking. It looks super speedway.
I get what you're saying, and I've kind of, ever since you've kind of pointed that out, or at least been on that, you know, I've been looking at that a lot more, and it didn't feel like that as much as it did before. It felt more like, it felt more natural. I put it like that than other races, and like, I think a lot of it has to do with the tire wear, and it wasn't as much of the, normally in next gen you'll have like the Nashville thing, which there'll be 3x3, which is cool, but it's not because they're evenly matched cars, it's because they can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas this definitely seemed more like just two guys with two great race cars driving the hell out of them. And especially the Ross and Kyle battle there was entertaining as all hell. And Kyle just trying everything to get by Ross, and it was just Ross being able to defend Kyle, and every move Kyle made, every time Kyle got by, Ross had already set Kyle back up to make a move past him, which was, I mean, that was just two of the best, just slugging it out for the lead. And it went on through, we saw it settle out, and then it kind of fired back up once Kyle maybe let his tires cool, or they got to the end of the run, and once the tires wore, it brought in different players, and it was good to see just because of how cool the track was after the rain and everything, and even to see the tire wear we saw.
Yeah, and the great thing about that is, like, you use the term defending is what Ross was doing. It's so refreshing to be able to say the word defending and not be talking about aero blocking. Now, obviously you can aero block. We saw Kyle Larson do it last year to Denny Hamlin for a long time. But it seemed like in this race, obviously you can use 3 to 4 distinct lines at Kansas, but it seemed like it was more viable this time. Like, Kyle Larson was able to use the bottom really well, and the past couple of years he has not been able to go to the bottom specifically. And obviously, going back to his battle with Denny Hamlin last year, that only lasted as long as it did because they only really ran the top, and they couldn't really do anything on the bottom. So whatever changed this time around, I guess just the tires, I guess, right? They were able to use the bottom, and that really opened it up. Like, it was, you could, like, no, I don't have anything.
You couldn't rip the fence, it seemed, and the reason being, they said the top, like, if it sounded like they were using terminology that made you think it was a dirt track. They were saying the top was kind of slicked off.
Kansas is kind of like a dirt track these days.
Really, and you would see them have to cut in the center off 3 to 4, about a lane and a half, 4 or 5 feet, however much that is, off of the turns 3 or turns 4 and turns 2, just because they could not rip the fence like they have been in previous years. I don't know really what that was, if that was, the way the rubber buildup was, if that was because of the cooler track temps, I don't know. But it naturally produced more lines later in a run that we hadn't seen at Kansas before. So it just, that was another thing that just kind of made it that much better.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like that all weekend too, because I really noticed that in practice, because obviously Kyle's usually the guy that goes up and rips the fence, but he was running about a lane and a half off. So, and even qualifying too. But yeah, I think whatever, that change made, for me, as someone who was mildly frustrated with the past couple of years at Kansas, had a lot of fun, but mildly frustrated. This was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
From what I've been able to see. So Yeah.
It was.
I've converted.
Yeah. It was. You know what it had to me? It finally, Kansas to me, Homestead has always been OP. Like, it has been the gold standard for 1.5-mile tracks. And it felt like Kansas was creeping in on that. And I think Kansas finally has reached the Homestead level. As far as it isn't because of this car and because of the way it races on 1.5 miles. It's just because of the opportunity it provides for a racing driver, which is always a good thing and is what we love about Homestead. And it is it's fun to see.
Yeah, I'd love to see what it does this year. I still think Charlotte's there too. I think they're like, I think all those are like 1A, B, C as far as
Charlotte's getting better too. Charlotte's getting better every year because of the way the track is wearing. They said even from year 1 to year 2 of next gen that it wore significantly. So that's gonna be interesting. Also, the progressive banking definitely helps at Kansas. Which would be interesting. Someone brought up a good point. Iowa, how it has progressive banking. I know it's the short track package, but could that maybe play into
Yeah, I think Iowa will. Iowa will be at least interesting. If not a very entertaining race to watch, but there'll be something for us fans. I mean, you and I, obviously, it'll be a day race and it'll be hot, so we've enjoyed several of those Richmond races where they're during the day and they're slicked off a little bit. So I think race fans will be able to find something to enjoy in the Iowa race. Hopefully, at least. I would hate for it to not go well as well as it can go with everything that goes against it right now. So hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, it's just, it can't be stated enough. This was just a good, pure race for the most part. There's you could gripe about several things, the green, white checkers or whatnot. I'm just going through the checklist of things Seth hates. It was just a good natural race. You saw a lot of comers and goers, like, Chris Buescher, kind of came out of nowhere and ended up being a major player. Denny Hamlin obviously was good. Ross was good at the beginning. Kyle was good pretty much throughout the entire race. And it wasn't a track position game. It wasn't a lot of these next gen races I've noticed, like, people play up like, we had all these different leaders that led over, 20 laps apiece or something like that. And it's like, yes, that is good, but it's also because it's hard to pass the leader.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel like that. It felt, like I said, it felt like a Darlington or a Homestead type race that, it just different guys, the runs fluctuate.
Well, and it's like, I would argue that when Ross Chastain had that earlier battle between him and Kyle, I would argue he was hard to pass, and not in a bad way. He was making himself hard to pass, not just because he was making his car as wide as possible.
He was hard to pass not because of the car, but because he's Ross Chastain.
Yeah. Exactly. No, that 100%. And that's, again, like I said, as someone who's been frustrated by some of these races, even the great ones with this car, that was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, Chuck. Chuck had some. Chuck, I wish Chuck was here because I'd love to hear his
say
work,
that like he died.
Yeah.
I wish Chuck was here.
I wish Chuck was here. It's a shame he died in that hunting incident.
Tomorrow morning.
God bless. Let me knock on wood.
Yeah.
Because Chuck had some choice words about this race after watching the highlights of the first 60 laps and then watching the highlights and then the last 60 laps and then proclaiming that this was just as bad as every other next gen race. So hopefully he'll go back and watch this and maybe he'll be enlightened
I can't wait for this to end up on YouTube. I'm definitely gonna I say rewatch. I'm gonna watch the entire thing for sure. Like 100%.
Yeah. It was. I was sitting there. It's one of those races where I was sitting there on the couch watching it, and there were several moments where I was like, I would be laying back on the couch. Several moments where I'm like, oh shit, oh okay, all right, like and it was consistent throughout. And there's a lot of things that there were so many things that played into the finish of this race too, because it had everything from Kyle Larson having a bad pit stop to Denny having several bad pit stops in a row. Thanks, Austin Hill. Obligatory fuck Austin Hill.
Go my line.
Look, you have all these lines. I gotta have one.
You're the actual content guy. I'm the lines guy.
Okay, got you. Well, so like I said, there's multiple things that played in the finish. Like Denny, when he got back in traffic, he had to, basically play some strategy there at the end, which was he was able to flip when everybody pitted, which got him the lead, which put, obviously fuel in question. And it was a culmination of several things throughout the race of the best drivers and the best cars being challenged and having to overcome that, which, all just came together to make this awesome, epic, last run of the race.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah, I just realized, you didn't, you weren't there. But, so obviously the finish. It's the closest finish in Cup Series history.
Yes.
Not the closest not the closest finish in NASCAR history. But the closest.
What is the closest finish in NASCAR history then?
Daytona Xfinity 2018. Reddick.
Less than 1,000th of a second?
Yeah, it was 4/10,000ths of a second.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
What's the closest finish you've ever seen in person, buddy?
I don't know. I was there for Kane Jones in that truck race in Charlotte in 2015. It wasn't the 2012 Bud Shootout. I was there for Kenseth and Kane at Rockingham. That was pretty close. I think those are really the closest ones I've seen. I feel like I'm forgetting one. What about you? Have you even...
My closest finish I've ever seen was Indy Lights Freedom 100.
Oh, God, yeah.
2016, 10,000ths of a second. That was right in front of me. I had no idea who the fuck won that. I
would be...
Now, Cup Series, I don't know.
You need glasses, so I would hope you wouldn't be able to see who crossed the line first between...
I was 8 years ago. I had better eyesight back then.
That's fair. But my point was, this is not... in my opinion, this is not the greatest finish of all time.
No, it's still not.
No,
like,
I don't...
Craven Busch is still the best finish of all time.
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, I think Craven Busch, even though it wasn't as close, I think it will always be the...
Well, it's also the fact that had that whole build up to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was I think someone said it. That was a battle, whereas Buescher and Larson, that was a finish.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, right? I think, but it's definitely in the top echelon. You look at Darlington 2003. You look at Talladega 2011. Atlanta, this year for sure. And then this race. I mean, they're all right there within, a couple thousandths of a second.
We got to figure out what do we think our fifth is then.
I was trying to think of that earlier, and I don't know. I think a fifth, it could be. I don't even think it has to be that close finish. It could be Chicagoland 18. It could be Watkins Glen 2012. I mean California 2013.
Dude, it's hard to beat Watkins Glen 2012.
Dude, California 2011, that was a great one.
That was pretty good.
I mean, there's a lot of them in there that, you know, could be ranking number 5, but I think I don't know. I was trying to think of that earlier. I couldn't.
Maybe we'll have to do like a
bracket or something.
Yeah, like a bracket, like fight to the death on this one.
Yeah.
No, it is this one. Damn it.
Yeah, we'll get a whiteboard or get some. Yeah, we'll do the damn.
We'll get one of those long sticks and like every time we're presenting, just go, oh, bam, smack this shit out.
Yeah. There we go. Just break the damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, man, dude, 2024, it's had some stinkers in this year. But for every stinker, there's been some bangers. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, even Texas in for the Xfinity. I mean, you look at that and it's just like, you know, like, what the hell?
The only thing is for the Cup Series, I think we're at like 3 bangers. Maybe I might throw Daytona in there.
I'll put Daytona in there.
I'll put Daytona in there.
Yeah.
I'm shilling a little bit because we were there and it was cool to be there. But
yeah.
I mean, it was compelling. So I've got 4 out of 13? 12?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's say 13 and count the Clash.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you thought the Clash was a banger, I didn't particularly think it was.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know. Like, I mean, the bangers have been bangers.
Yeah. I think that kind of is. There's been, you know, and I was thinking about this earlier. We have grown so, like, I wouldn't say numb to good races, because we definitely freak out over, you know, these great moments as we should, but we get so hung up on, was this a good race? Was this a bad race? And I feel like sometimes, I was thinking about this earlier, and this is not profound by any means. It's definitely been said by many other people, but, you know, like, I don't want these finishes every week, because that makes them not as special. Like, I mean, Atlanta was a once in a fucking, you know, decade thing that happened. And this was a once every couple years, you know, thing that happened. And it's like, I know there's a lot of people saying, well, we need Kansas 36 weeks a year. First of all, no, you know how boring, you know, by week 3 or 4, that would get real fucking boring. But
everyone would dial it in so bad.
Yeah, it's weird to say, but I don't want too much of a good thing. I want these things to still be special. I want everything else to be elevated to a certain degree, for sure, because we got some shit right now. But
I am so glad you said that, because that means I can piggyback off this and go on to my next thing, which is right. We don't need to be adding any more 1.5 miles.
Yes, that's correct.
Because we have a great amount of them right now, and that they keep them special. I say them. I don't love all of them. I really love Homestead, Kansas, and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And even though we only have one Charlotte race, I don't necessarily want to add another one. Not just because I'm a Roval shill, which I am, but
I think it
keeps it special.
I will stand for a Chicagoland race.
I would stand for that, and I would also.
SMI needs to buy Chicagoland and replace Texas.
They didn't wait. They don't own Chicago.
I don't think. No, NASCAR owns Chicagoland.
Oh. Well, then NASCAR needs to go there.
Well, I was saying that way we can get rid of Texas.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And then that wouldn't be adding one either. That'd be just, you know, replacing
exactly.
Better race.
Exactly. Yep.
And honestly, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind if we went to Homestead twice.
I would. Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. Maybe get rid of like the second Daytona race. Sorry, not sorry.
You're gonna take some flack for that one.
I don't care, dude.
Yeah.
I like I said, watching a regular plate race now just feels like watching the Daytona 500 with none of the stakes.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only other one I'd be okay adding would be move the All-Star race back to Charlotte. It's literally perfect for it, and then we can get Wilkesboro to a points race, which I think would be better for Wilkesboro.
Yeah.
I think maybe not on Easter. I guess we're not running Easter next year anyway. Whatever.
We're running in Mexico next year. That's what I heard.
For the Clash?
No. I heard it's taking Richmond's second date. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. Yes. Back to our mile-and-a-half discussion.
Yeah. So anyway, wait, how many do we have right now? 8?
Total races or tracks?
Total races.
We have 2 Kansases. We have Texas, Charlotte. We have Homestead. We have we definitely have more than that, right?
I swear we have more than that.
We really
Vegas
only have
twice.
Vegas twice. Okay, yeah. Vegas.
I don't like Vegas. So really, I only like 3 of these tracks.
Yeah. Vegas. I don't know what the deal is with Vegas.
There's too much on throttle time.
Yeah, it's
like there's no nuance to Vegas at all. All the nuance you get at a track like Kansas and Homestead and Charlotte, there's none of it at Vegas. Yeah. It looks just like a 550 race. Yeah, to me,
it does. It resembles definitely the most of any of these.
They didn't take like a bunch of sandpaper out there and just keep grinding on it till it loses grip.
I mean, yeah. So anyway, no, I think that's definitely fair. That's fair. We should not, and a lot of that too. People saying we need to add mile-and-a-halves. Well, that's just ignoring the problem we have. Like, I mean, we can. How about we fix what the problems we have?
Yeah,
and then we don't need to have 17 mile-and-a-halves.
Again, like I said this, I can't remember if it was last year, a couple years ago, whatever. I say a lot of things a lot of times, and it gets nauseating, I'm sure. But a lot of the problems we have at short tracks and road courses, if we fix these problems, it wouldn't really change anything about what made Kansas a great race. So if we got, we had proper brakes, proper tires. In fact, actually, if we had proper tire size, it'd probably make Kansas even better because the tires would fall off more. Maybe. I don't know. I'm speculating. Anyway, a lot of these mechanical grip car issues that we have would not hamper what makes Kansas and Homestead and Charlotte, those 3 specifically, great races. So let's just do it. Like, it's going to cost money, but oh no, my multi-billion-dollar racing series. Oh no, we might have to spend some money to like fix our fuck ups. Oh, the humanity.
Yeah.
Like, as a friend of ours would say, give me a fucking break.
Oh Jesus. Yeah. Seriously. Getting into the finish of the century. No, not
I
really.
cannot believe Kyle Larson tried to kill Chris Buescher.
Yeah, he absolutely, well, before we get to that, this race was kind of setting up to probably not be the finish that we saw, but definitely interesting because Chris Gabehart said pretty much that Denny Hamlin was going to run out of gas off of, either through 3 and 4 or off of 4. And Martin Truex was making a hell of a run at him there at the end of the thing. So either way, we probably still would have seen a banger. If you're Martin Truex, you got snake bit by another late race caution thanks to Kyle Busch. Yeah, I mean, that was going to be interesting because like it was so that whole last run was interesting because it looked and I think this is what Chuck was getting at. It looked like Buescher couldn't get past the 11, but it was more of Denny was way quicker and was just going when Buescher got close, because Denny was saving gas and just backing up to Chris, and then Chris would get to him. He's like, "Ah, shit, I gotta go." And it was one of those deals where, it was a game of cat and mouse, and it was just a slow build. It was almost like, I hate to make the comparison, but almost like a super speedway. It was like all right, who's going to go first? Who's going to make the first move? And then you have Kyle Larson in the back just burning his rears off like
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, like Kyle Larson. But yeah, I mean, that all went to was all for naught when Kyle Busch spun out, and then
he does that a lot.
Yeah, he does. He does. I do not appreciate that Kyle Busch has had the worst season of his career. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. It seems like it.
Probably.
Yeah. And he seems to have an issue in every race, except for the one race that I have a bet against him. So I don't appreciate that. But and I don't appreciate Chris Buescher running so well at Kansas, but yet not being able to beat Kyle Busch last week at Dover and making me win money. So anyway, back at the ranch. The caution comes out. The guys take 2 tires. Martin Truex's fans are going ape shit because he got bit by the caution, and then James Small took 4 tires, and we need to deport him or whatever. So we set up the restart. And
in fairness to the Martin Truex Jr. fans, James Small kind of sucks.
He does suck, but he does suck, but not in this instance. We'll put it. We get the restart. Kyle makes it 3 wide on the restart. I mean, it was kind of if you kind of saw it coming from a mile away, and really the move of the race, aside from turns 3 and 4 to the finish line on the last lap, was really Kyle off of turn 2.
Yeah.
Because if he does not clear Chase Elliott, game over. It's over. Chris Buescher has won this race because the 9 and the 5 are going to stall out. Buescher's going to drive away, and that's going to be the end of it. But Kyle, if you look at the onboard, did not wait for Tyler Mond to say clear. I would have to wonder if he was looking in the rearview camera, because he had to have been to
probably
clear. Yeah. That was, as soon as me watching it, being a Kevin Harvick fan and watching the 5 car, which is a weird sentence, coming off of turn 2, as soon as he cleared Chase, I jumped up. I was like, that's the move. If he's got any shot at it, that's it right there. And they get the white. Chris runs the bottom. Still puzzled as to why he ran the bottom. It was the exact opposite of when Harvick ran the bottom at the end of the 2020 Southern 500. Instead of, wondering why Austin Dillon's about to win this race and me screaming, "Why world make fuck on me?" I was like, yes, that was a dumb move, Chris. I appreciate that. And the move Kyle makes in turn 4, that should not have worked, but it did work because it's Kyle fucking Larson.
Agreed. I mean, he packed it so far into the corner that I don't know how he made it.
It
doesn't the math doesn't add up.
Kyle doesn't know how he made, which Kyle doesn't really know how he does anything.
Kyle doesn't know how anything happens. He just goes, "Duh, race car go."
Yeah. Like Kyle said in his post-race presser, he was like, I fully expected to just stuff it in the fence off 4. And coming through 3, when he got to his outside, I was like, oh shit. And I was like, I've seen this before with the next gen car. They're going to wreck, and the worst thing in the world is going to happen, and Chase Elliott's going to win this race. But that didn't happen. And we come down to the line and see the closest finish in Cup Series history. I'm not even going to acknowledge Kyle Larson during Chris Buescher because you know what? You got to do what you got to do to win the race. Like that's
Hang on, I do want to say something about that. Um, Everyone always asks for some more beating and banging, and then they get it,
yeah.
and they go, "That's pretty." Oh, it was him. Never mind. That's gross. I can't believe he would do that to try and win a race. What a piece of shit.
Well, and it's funny because a lot of these same people were probably the ones saying that Ryan Sieg wasn't aggressive enough when Sam
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
and no one would have had a problem with it, and they
Nope.
shouldn't have. If Ryan Sieg had roughed him up a bit, no one would have been like, "I can't believe he did that."
yeah,
That is tainted. No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have cared. They'd have been like, "Good, that's what he needed to do." Like,
yeah. Could you imagine if it would have been Denny Hamlin and not Kyle Larson though?
Denny
that
Hamlin
much
would have
worse.
like wrecked the dog fuck out of him.
Actually, yeah, Denny would just wrecked Chris.
He wouldn't have packed it into the corner to go to the outside. He'd have packed it into Chris Buescher and just won.
Yeah.
And then he would have gotten out and they'd have been like, boo. And he'd be like, "Let me hear you."
Well, I don't know. It's not Kyle Larson. I don't know. Denny doesn't really wreck anybody that's not Kyle Larson.
I feel like that's not true.
Lately.
I mean, okay, I was about to say.
Lately.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, for some reason, he really only like wrecked him once last year.
He wrecked him. Anyway,
I guess. I don't even barely count the Kansas.
Yes. The finish happens. It's insane. The world is going nuts. I'm going nuts in my living room. Happy's scared to fucking death because I'm screaming. It flashes up on the board, Chris Buescher, and like we said earlier, it was a waiting game. There's a lot of discourse on Twitter because of the way the start finish line was painted, because of how the scoring board said Chris Buescher. So we decided to get an expert opinion because if you guys haven't listened to this first 36 minutes of this podcast or any of our other podcasts, we are not experts at all at anything. So I brought in someone who, we're not. I'm sorry to break that. I'm very sure. I
keep telling everyone I'm an expert, so I have to stop doing that.
You should probably stop doing that.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. So anyway, we brought in someone who is more of an expert than us for sure, and that is Peter Stratta. So.
Peter.
We got some clarification on the finish of the race from our good friend. Here it is. What's up, guys? It's Buddy. I'm here with Peter Stratta with TSJ Sports. I got that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. I'm dyslexic.
Bob actually didn't a couple weeks ago to tweet up, so you beat Bob at something.
I beat Bob at something? That's incredible. That will be the only thing I ever beat Bob at. But yeah, we're here with Peter. I brought Peter in to kind of explain to us or give us some clarification on the finish of the race and as far as like the start finish line and the transponders and the cameras and everything and how it was come to the conclusion that Kyle Larson won this race. And how this all started was an RFK tweet after the race. Obviously, we saw when the race happened, Buescher crossed the line. It flashed up Buescher as the winner. Then, obviously, we all know the outcome. And RFK tweeted a picture of the start-finish line to point out that it was slightly uneven there. And Peter... explain, I guess give us a rundown. How is the start finish line scored? It is obviously a photo finish, actually, what it's called, but it's not necessarily by the photo at the start finish line.
Correct. The painted line is not necessarily where the timing line itself is, and obviously whoever is painting it for Kansas or whatever track isn't with NASCAR race control, doesn't know where the laser line is, because on pit road facing the start finish line is a camera that overlays a laser, almost like a down marker in football. And for stage finishes and the race finish, that determines who won the race, not who crossed the painted line, who broke the plane of the laser line, which is obviously invisible.
Okay, got you. So, in the event, this is a kind of different question. Is in the event, like during, like, to count who led a lap in the race, is it all done by the transponders? Then, in that case, and not by the camera.
From my understanding, yes. And
Okay.
I believe Jeff Gluck said that at Kansas, the timing line is maybe 3 or 6 feet past the start finish line. So that's where the transponder would pick up. Now, obviously, with the finish, Buescher may have been ahead at the timing line past our finish. So that's why timing and scoring, the TV broadcast, and the pylon at the track all said 17 up top.
Yeah. So this is not like an abnormal thing at all.
It's not. It's just abnormal that it was this close and that it still showed the 17 ahead.
Yeah. And obviously Scott Graves, he went to the NASCAR trailer to kind of get some clarification. And I would assume they showed him the photo of the high speed camera photo, right?
Right. And I actually just learned a little bit ago that camera shoots at several thousand frames a second, far faster than any human eye can see. So it's truly the best way of determining who was ahead when. And the picture that NASCAR tweeted, I think Ben Kennedy tweeted it too, shows two lines, a red line and a black line. The red line is the start finish line. And you can see that Larson is just ahead by maybe that much.
Okay, got you. And then the black line, would that be kind of just show what the point on Larson's bumper is compared to Buescher's?
I believe so.
Yeah.
That's what an official told me overnight, is that the black line was just there. It's kind of a gauge to reference where Buescher was.
Okay, got you. And then and two, just we'll dumb this down as much as possible. Everybody's splitter is the same, correct?
Yes.
Exactly. I know there were some people that was like, well, the 5 splitter looks longer than that. Obviously that's not the case, right?
Obviously not. No, the splitter is a common piece across all 3 next-gen manufacturers. And unless the Hendrick team was messing around with something they shouldn't have been, they're all the same.
Yeah, and obviously I would have gotten caught in tech. So the transponder is located in the rear of the car. And you mentioned that I guess whenever they cross the line, it might be 3 to 6 feet behind that is when it was triggered. And that's
Correct.
what caused Buescher to be, I guess, scored as the winner. So do you think there would be any any argument to move the transponder in the event that this happens? Because it seems like there's almost a, I wouldn't call it a protest by fans, but some people don't understand how this worked or how it would have been showing Buescher, but it actually Larson.
I mean, I don't really see a reason to move the transponder. From what I understand, it's in the same position on every car. So it's kind of the same deal. It would just be, instead of back here, it'd be up here. So really, what difference would it make?
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. And then I guess overall reaction of the race, dude. I mean, that was it was an incredible race.
It really was. I was thinking Atlanta would be race of the year, but this may have just blown it out of the water. I mean, Larson said it perfectly in his front stretch interview. Stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 were all incredible in their own ways. We had fuel mileage. We had a bit of a crap show to start stage 3. We had back and forth racing, leaders side by side for multiple laps. It really had a little bit of everything that is modern day NASCAR.
Yeah. And I obviously we're recording this before I actually go on the show with Seth. I want you to make a point for me, or if you disagree, go ahead. But I know they're gonna say something about horsepower and something about aero and whatnot. What would be your argument to that? Because I mean, this was a good race, and obviously we could use a little bit more horsepower and different things there, but like, it was still a damn good race.
It still was. I think Kansas is just in that sweet spot right now where it's absolutely perfect. I'd put Charlotte in that category too. I think Texas will get there eventually, and same with the other 1.5 miles that were recently repaved. But Honestly, if it were up to me, I would keep the mile and a half package as is and create a new package with more horsepower for the short tracks and road courses. Go back to what we saw at the tail end of Gen 6, where we have two distinct different packages based on the track.
I like it. I like it. Peter, obviously you got your ear to the ground. What are you hearing about those type of packages potentially, or even we'll start out with that and then I'll go from
I
there.
think it'll be interesting to see how well the new tire does the All-Star race. I think that if it does well, could bode well for the future. Obviously, changing a tire is a lot easier than changing a motor or changing other components of the package. So fingers crossed that the tire does what we wanted to do at Wilkesboro. But I really was a fan of the tire wear we saw yesterday. I think the broadcast said we saw like a second or so of tire fall off in 30 laps.
Yeah, and then Larson at the end of the race, it looked like he was burning his right rear off, and
Right.
it
I
was
think
pretty cooked.
Jamie Little tweeted a picture of the tire that came off his car and it was corded bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what we want to see out of this. And then as far as like, I know the charter agreement is a big talk and a big, it's a big to do right now. You hear anything? Are they getting closer? Is it just a bunch of smoke and mirrors from NASCAR blowing smoke up our rear ends, or what's going on there? What are you hearing?
I think it's really week to week. I think the Athletic last week, Luck and Bianchi tweeted or posted a story where it laid out the four pillars that the race teams really want. And I would like to think at some point the teams and NASCAR as two separate entities meet somewhere in the middle on those four things.
Yeah, and what were those four things?
Trying to remember off the top of my head, and I can't at the moment. I read that article like right when it dropped. But one of them was about, I guess, having a bigger voice in rules changes and future, obviously, changes that would be a big financial hit to the teams, and just the same old stuff we've heard before, a bigger piece of the pie from the revenue sharing between the tracks, the sanctioning body, and the teams.
Yeah, so just kind of general, yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right, cool. Yeah, other than that, I mean that's all I wanted clarification on that. You are much smarter than us, and you have your ear closer to the ground than we do, for sure. So I appreciate you give us some insight there, and we'll get you on the show. Yeah, of course. I'll get you on the show here in the next couple of weeks. We were supposed to have you on this week, but scheduling issues with Seth. Peter Stratta, THJ Sports, always appreciate you. Good to talk to you, and we'll see you at Darlington.
All right, take care.
All right, yep. So yeah, Seth, we watched what Peter said there. What do you think about the whole controversy with the finish line and the scoring and all this real, in my opinion, nonsense?
Yeah, I don't. There seemed to be a how do I put this, notion that it was a bit of a conspiracy. Because the high-speed camera doesn't take pictures of the background or whatever. Yeah. Or the foreground or anything. It just like what it's pointed at. I guess I don't understand how that works exactly. I just know what it does and does not take a picture of. And then obviously with the thing, I don't. The whole thing reeks of whiny babies. I guess is the best way to put it.
It
like
reeks
if
of,
it wasn't, if it like, I don't want to sound like woe is me because I don't really give a fuck. But like, if it was anybody other than Kyle Larson who won this race, I feel like this wouldn't have happened. Maybe from the 17 team, but other than that, I don't think this would have happened. And I don't blame the 17 team either. I know they like threw gas on this fire, but like, I get it. You lost the race by a quarter of an inch. I'd be kind of irked too. Like,
yeah, it's so clear that Kyle Larson won this race. Like it's so like just it's right there. Yep. Like look at the picture. It's pretty clear that Kyle is when they get to the finish line, he is past the point of where Chris's finish line would have started, since the finish lines were different, and they had a 4-year-old paint the Kansas start finish line there. But like the audacity to sit there and say, nope, that's not good enough proof for me, and then they literally show you the scoring lines in the picture, and you're like, well, no, I got to poke a hole in that because reasons. I mean, dude, I'm all for throwing out Hendrick conspiracies. I've kind of been doing it all fucking year.
Buddy Pulley?
Yeah, no. Kyle Larson did have an H40 on the side of that car, and drives for NASCAR Motorsports, but it's pretty cut and dry that he won this race, and there's really no basis for an argument that otherwise.
Yeah. Here's also the thing. I understand the H40 thing and the NASCAR Motorsports and all this, but what does NASCAR have to gain by rigging this for Kyle Larson? Okay, never mind. Other than the fact that it's May and he's running the Indy 500 and it's Hendrick 40th. Okay, never mind. Actually, I've convinced myself that this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But no, like, I mean, you really think about it. Like, you're like, oh, hey, this guy that wins all the fucking time, or this guy that has like 5 wins. Like, what's a better story technically? Like, when the finish is this close, I don't think it matters.
They were NFL rigging it for the Patriots. It's the dynasty. Though. It's the dynasty.
Yeah, but the dynasty in this aspect does not affect, like, Kyle's and Hendrick Motorsports' legacy is not like cemented with this win. It's not like a championship.
It is, yeah, but if you add in the fact that it's Hendrick's 40th anniversary, and now they have the closest finish in NASCAR in Cup history as their, as a crowning achievement of theirs. It just adds to the historic season that they've already had.
Okay, and then so do we think this was a conspiracy or not?
No, I don't think it is. I'm just saying.
It sure sounds like
saying. Okay, conspiracy put to bed. Here's what I'm just going to paint the picture to why this is huge for the sport and why this is should get a ton of publicity. It's Hendrick Motorsports. It's their 40th anniversary. They've already won the Daytona 500 under dubious circumstances. No,
Did they?
No, they didn't. I'm just mad. They won Martinsville, had a 1-2-3 finish in their 40th anniversary of their first win, which is definitely rigged. So they have this story going for them, which is huge. You have Kyle Larson, who already is a hot button driver, good or bad. You have, that added into the fact that this is the closest finish in Cup Series history. You add that to Kyle Larson's legacy and the narrative that Kyle Larson is the greatest race car driver in the world, and Hendrick Motorsports is the best team with the best drivers, and it adds to their dynasty. And also is the beginning of the month in which Kyle Larson is probably going to be the most talked about thing in motorsports, because he is running the Indianapolis 500. He is, flying from Indy to Wilkesboro, and then, Kevin Harvick's running the practice, and then, that's going to get a lot of
You're the only one that cares that much about that.
Fuck you. And then he's, obviously going to do the double, and he's probably got the best shot that anyone's had of doing the double and winning that anyone's ever had. So, I mean, it is a great way to kick off the month of May. And
it just occurred to me, Kyle could go 4 for 4 in the month of May. Like, this is totally doable on the Cup side.
I mean, you're rolling out that he could go 5 for 5?
Yeah, I'm going to roll that out.
Okay.
I'm going to roll that out.
Okay. I mean, he could. He definitely could.
I mean, Kyle won Martinsville last year, so I guess anything is possible, but like...
Yeah.
I mean, that's not happening. Like,
yeah. Well, if you look at it last year, I mean, Kyle got wrecked on the last lap at Kansas last year. got wrecked on the final restart at Darlington, won Wilkesboro, and I don't remember what happened in the 600.
They were okay in the 600.
Mid,
I say
okay.
They ran the back half of the race. They ran top 5, and then he wrecked it because he ran out of talent because he's Kyle Larson.
Oh, okay. Either way.
But yeah, they could have gone 4 for 4 then too.
Yeah. Either way, this is a great story going into the month of May. Well, we're already in the month of May, but I don't know.
Going into that part of the month of May.
Yes. And we, we're setting up for a big month of motorsports, and Kyle Larson has main character energy for sure. And you know why?
I would argue he is the main character this month.
Yes. And you know why? Because he's the greatest race car driver in the fucking world.
I thought you said that about Shane.
He is the greatest Cup / IndyCar driver in the fucking world.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah.
I stand Kyle a little enough already. I don't need to be saying shit like that. So
Yeah.
I'll leave that one to you, Mr. Who's that on your t-shirt? Kevin Harvick, I believe.
Kevin Harvick, yes. This is it.
I'm sorry.
This I'm wearing a hold on.
Kevin.
Hold on. I'm wearing a number 5 t-shirt for the audio listeners. I just moved the mic so you probably couldn't hear that. But and this is my Kevin Harvick shirt for everyone.
You mean your
wondering.
Kevin Harvick?
Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick.
Are we ever going to explain that?
Hell no.
Yeah,
Absolutely
no, it's way
not.
funnier.
Yeah, it's way funnier.
If you see us in person, you can ask, and we're going to go, Kevin Harvick. And then walk
exactly.
away.
Exactly. We've gone off the beaten path here. But Kyle Larson, greatest race car driver in the world. Shane Van Gisbergen, 1/1000th of a second behind Kyle in that. And then Kevin Harvick is the greatest race car driver to ever grace the presence of the 5 car, for sure.
Really?
Yes, he is. Speaking of the other greatest race car driver in the world, the rundown from Down Under.
The final time onto the front stretch. He comes to the checkered flag. He's won the very first street race in NASCAR.
What are we running down from Down Under this week?
Yeah, so Shane was off. I don't know what Shane was doing this weekend. I would imagine having a nice
Shrimp
frosty.
on the bobby.
Yeah, I was going to say a frosty and fries and maybe maybe a baconator or so. But he was off. But there is a little bit of Shane Van Gisbergen news. He is not running the All-Star race.
For shame.
That my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined for sure.
Currently, this was announced a week ago. You're still upset about it? I mean, upset.
My All-Star
your day
race is
still
ruined.
Really? Oh no, you only care about practice day anyway.
You're goddamn right. No, it's just frustrating, you know. Like Trackhouse has Project 91. They could run a third car. Like they could. It's the fucking All-Star race. You can run a third car. Colleague has already run a third car this year. Like, you know, you have it's the All-Star race. I don't understand how hard it could be. I wish
they'd get him. I wish that, like, forget the All-Star race. I wish they'd just get him in a truck that weekend.
Something, dude. No, I mean, I want him in the damn All-Star race. It is the biggest.
Great,
hold on, no. It was one of the biggest stories in motorsports in the past, since it happened, of him winning that Chicago street race, of him coming from New Zealand, relatively unknown to America, and kicking our fucking nuts in and winning that race. And, the first driver in, since whoever the fuck in 1960 to win in their first Cup start which I don't even hardly count that because it was a fucking duel. I want him to have all the accolades and all the flowers of being a Cup winner and everything to do with that Chicago race. I want him to have everything thrown at him that he deserves because he is, like I said, one of the fucking greatest race car drivers in the world, and he's here in America. He's fucking running Xfinity full time. He's made this commitment, and you can't even put him in a fucking car for the All-Star race that he earned a spot in? Come on. Like, the more I think about this, the more pissed off I am about it. Like,
I feel you, but I think if he was that worried about it, it would have happened.
You know what? Fuck you.
What?
What?
I'm serious.
That goes against my narrative.
Oh, I'm sorry. let me not go against your narrative here.
Yeah.
Oh, I would hate for the facts to get in the way of your feelings there, bud.
Exactly. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
We try and tell Chuck that all the time. He's like, but that's not how it happened. And I'm like,
well,
who
I
cares,
try to tell
dude?
you that all the time.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Chuck's like, dude, the race was terrible. I'm like, yeah, but the alien invasion was pretty cool. And he's like, there was no alien invasion. I'm like, yeah, not till you write about it.
Yeah.
Yet to do it yet.
Freaking reporter.
Report.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Shane. Back to the legal alien from New Zealand that's in America. Yeah. I don't know. It's just annoying to me. I'm really disappointed in that. Moving on, though, Darlington is this weekend. We already gave a little bit of a preview of what to expect in our Dover episode, but
we're going to do it again because we are shills.
Exactly. Thank you. He is running a Marcus...
We're really interested in making sure you guys are aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
He is running a Marcus Ambrose throwback, which is badass.
Which is really cool.
Which is really fucking cool. They got the number font. They got everything. It looks awesome. And that's going to be really cool on track. I'm super glad that he's doing a throwback. And I think that's the perfect one. I think the only thing that here's one thing I want to point out is I feel like some of these throwbacks, like they'll use like a different form of racing, like an Indy car or whatever, to like, you know, and try to put that paint scheme on a Cup car. A lot of times it doesn't transfer well. I think, if anything, next year for Shane, I think one of his V8 supercar schemes would look badass, and it would transfer very well onto a Cup and or Xfinity car. But anyway, the Marcus Ambrose throwback is badass. Obviously, to his Stanley Tools DeWalt car that he won his first Cup race in 2011.
Both of his Cup races, actually.
Both of them, actually, yes.
Were they both Stanley, or was one...
I think they were both Stanley, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so that'll be his throwback. As far as the race goes, what are we expecting from the Giz?
I feel like it's kind of going to be like Dover, where he's kind of just hanging around for a couple stages, trying to get his feet under him. Like we said a couple weeks or a week ago, whenever it was, Darlington is by far the most unique oval we go to. Each end of the track is wildly different because, of course, the world famous, and by world famous I mean Darlington famous, Minnow Pond outside of turn 4.
The Darlington Swamp.
Yes, the Swampy.
That's right.
Which is his own joke. Anyway, so yeah, I think the learning curve will be pretty steep, but of course he's Shane Van Gisbergen, so he should be fine after about 100 laps. Well, no, the race is like 150 laps. We'll say 70. And then after that, I think he'll be fine, and he'll probably finish in the back half of the top 20, which I think would be a super day for your first time at Darlington, I would say.
I think as long as he keeps his nose clean
which is kind of a big if.
Yeah.
But he has a knack
Darlington.
for that.
Yeah. I think it depends on kind of how the race plays out. But I honestly think that he could be looking at a top 15, top 10. I have faith in Shane, and I think the tire management aspect of it is going to be good. I think the car control and the driving ability of Shane is going to get put on full display, and I think as long as he keeps it straight, keeps it out of the wall too much, I think he'll do pretty well. I'm 10th to 15th day is what I'm looking at.
All right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Yep.
That'd be cool. That'd be super cool, actually.
Yes. Other than that, I think that's all we got for the rundown from Down Under this week. Yeah. We will reconvene after Darlington for sure.
That will.
On to the accolades. Was this race bitching?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking
pretty
bitching. It was pretty bitching.
Yeah.
I on a scale of 0 to bitching, this was a Kansas race.
Yeah,
it was a. So picks. I had Kyle Larson, so yay me. That's awesome.
I remember last week I said, well, because I picked Tyler Reddick, so I said unless Reddick wins, Kyle Larson's definitely going to finish second, and that almost happened, but it didn't quite happen.
Yeah, so Larson won. Chuck about got me there though. Like if that caution doesn't come out at the end of the race, I think Corey Heim beats Kyle Larson.
Really?
I think because Corey had gotten his way up into the top 10, and I think Kyle was dropping like a rock. And
Kyle was tire like cording the tires.
Yeah, I don't know if that tire would have hung on. So shout out to Kyle Busch for getting me a win there. Shout
out to Chuck. Hey, hang on. Shout out to Chuck real quick though, because like you ripped on him for picking Corey Heim, and that was a pretty decent pick.
It was a good pick. I was not expecting that. And then Corey Heim won the truck race, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nevertheless, I won. So for Darlington,
there's a really obvious pick here.
Back to back, baby.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't, yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter. So did I end up beating Chuck or no? It doesn't matter. He picked someone else that I picked.
No, you beat him.
Okay, I did end up beating him.
Corey wrecked on the last lap. But yeah, I'm picking Larson if anybody didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Again.
All right, so I poured through my my picks.
Okay.
I am like 99.5% sure I have not picked him yet. Denny Hamlin.
You have not picked Denny Hamlin yet.
Hell yeah. All right, we're going with it. Dennis the Menace.
That's going to be a good one. Do we know who Chuck picked?
He picked good old Dickie Sten. Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, that's right. Dick Stenhouse. All right.
Yep. Yeah, I'll keep Chuck's stuff pulled up. All
right. So I got Kyle Larson. You got Denny Hamlin. Chuck has Dick Stenhouse. Chuck will be back next week, guys. Chuck should be back from his sabbatical. So
if y'all were just getting sick of hearing just us,
yes,
fret not. Chuck is almost back.
Yeah, so then you can be sick of all three of us.
Yes.
Yes.
If you think I'm annoying and say the same shit over and over, wait till you hear Chuck. Say if this is your first or second time hearing us, wait till you hear Chuck. Chuck's like me, but like he's like me. Anyway. Sundress.
Sundress. Fuck. I don't know. Caden Honeycutt. There we go. Yeah, Caden Honeycutt. That's a good one. He, late model guy, ran up in the top 5 at the truck race, damn near won the thing, and then they had a terrible pit stop because nothing good ever happens, and he ended up...
That's not true. We got the end of the Cup race. That was pretty great.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
At least I was happy about it.
I was very happy about it. But no, yeah, I'm going with Caden Honeycutt. Great run for him. And I was listening to DVC earlier. They made a great point that if this charter deal goes the way of the teams, which it should, you'll just see more guys like Caden Honeycutt and Carson Quapple, who is he's getting some more JRM races. You're going to see more of those guys out there. And that's always a good thing because they're proving that they are just as good as anyone else.
Okay. Chuck's was also Caden Honeycutt.
Wow. All right. I guess that was predictable,
huh? And if we wanted someone else, he said Carson.
Perfect. Yeah, Carson Quapple.
Yeah, as per typical, which is why he picked someone else. Anyway, mine is going to be Noah Gragson. He's been quiet. I say quietly. People are talking about it, but relatively quietly putting together a pretty solid season. And for some reason, everyone had written him off completely after a bad season at a team that struggled hardcore last year.
Yeah.
So now for him to be running, I mean, I guess technically, so Chase Briscoe is higher in points, but I haven't noticed Chase Briscoe like I've noticed Noah Gragson.
Well, Noah got a penalty too.
That's true. So actually, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, for this week and for actually kind of the whole season to this point, Noah Gragson.
Yeah. And also, there's a bit of it seems like some inter-team competition going on up there. There's a article that came out on, I don't remember what the publication was. I read it, but it was essentially, there was apparently a team study that happened at Stewart-Haas. Ryan Preece was excluded from it, and the whole article was basically about how Ryan Preece was mad about it, and he feels like that he is not getting his share at Stewart-Haas Racing, which I read the article. That's what he said, but it really just sounded like a bunch of bitching from Ryan Preece. And a bunch of woe is me, and I deserve this more than anybody else, so why am I, not getting it? But
yeah, go figure. Unlikable. Go figure. Unlikable driver is unlikable even to his teammates.
Yes.
Go figure.
Yeah. Other than that, dumbass. So
Chuck is literally in the chat right now.
Yeah. The margin of victory for the Cup race is historic for multiple reasons. It is the closest finish in Cup Series history, and it's also miraculously a closer finish. They had a margin of victory less than the length of Corey LaJoie's dick, which is incredible. And Corey LaJoie is my dumbass for wrecking Jimmy Johnson because he's fucking stupid.
I agree.
Yeah. Corey LaJoie is a bad race car driver.
All right, so no. I've piled on Corey LaJoie a lot, so I'm gonna just sit this one out. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. Dude kind of thinks his shit don't stink. And Carson, the host of ours, like way better, and it's not even funny. Anyway, so Chuck's dumbass is Fox, per usual. Chuck is like if you think I'm a broken record, again, like holy shit, dude. Like Chucky 4 over here, man. He got one line. I'm about the one-liners, but Chuck's got like one line.
All right.
I'm gonna have him change his Instagram or his social media bio to Carson Quapple, sundress, Fox, dumbass. Anyway, he said for zooming in so tight in 3 and 4, you couldn't see all of the 5 and 17. I mean, look, it's fair. I'm not arguing with him. Like, Fox needs to back it the fuck up a little bit, but like,
yeah,
it's not that serious.
No.
Anyway, all right. So my dumbass is going to be NASCAR Twitter /Reddit. You cannot ask for beating and banging side-by-side finishes and then complain when it happens.
Yeah.
Because you didn't like who it was. Like, I'm sorry. I get it. You don't like Kyle. He's the villain. I really want that to catch on. I want a t-shirt with that on it. I can see it now. It just says a villain, Kyle's face, and then he's got these like evil green eyes. It'd be awesome. Anyway, so I'm going to try and make that catch on. But anyway, I get it. You don't like him. It's like Darth Vader, I guess. But like, I don't know. You guys look like idiots.
Yeah.
So you're my dumbass for that.
Honorary dumbass is the guy I got in a Twitter spat with yesterday. And it was mainly one-sided because I started this conversation with this man. And if you care to go look at it, I'm not going to explain it. Go look at my Twitter replies. But I started this spat with him, and it wasn't even a spat. It was me delivering him information that he asked for. And it then turned into maybe one of the dumbest interactions I've had with a human being. And after about 2 replies, I realized that, and I was like, we're just going to see how long this will go. And so I think that's going to be my new thing, is I'm just going to go and I'm going to find the dumbest person that thinks they're the most reasonable person in the world. And I'm going to comment on their post, and I'm just going to start a conversation with them and hope that they just slowly but surely explain how fucking stupid they are. And I think that's my new favorite thing to do. That's what happened to me last night on Twitter. That guy. It's my honorary dumbass. Other than that, I think it's all we had.
I believe so.
All right. We just saw one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history.
We did.
And you guys just watched one of the middest podcasts in NASCAR history.
Yeah, if you're watching to the end of this, you do realize that there are other podcasts, right?
Yeah, and if you don't realize that there are other podcasts,
you can go ahead and subscribe. We do this weekly. We do other things too. If you want to watch a podcast of all time, you're certainly free to do so, and we'll accept you. So anyway, this has been the Big Motor Small Blade podcast.
That's not what I was going to say. I was just going to say go fuck yourselves.
Anyway, he's been Buddy, aka the Go Fuck Yourself guy. I've been Seth, aka the those other podcasts, right, guy. And we'll see you next week after Kyle Larson definitely wins again. I say that.